My name's Des Ship and welcome to a brand new series from Preston Innovations called Match Fishing Essentials. I'm at Hillview today near Tewkesbury, a fantastic venue, but I've also got Andy Power down the motorway. He's at Viaduct Fishery and we're going to show you 4 different ways today to make you guys a better match angler. There are 4 essential methods that me and Andy are going to show you to make you a better commercial angler. The first of which is the feeder. It's a great starting point whilst I'm priming my other lines up and also putting a few early fish in my net. The second of which is your shallow fishing. It's a great way of building a big weight really quickly, whether you're fishing for F1s or large carp. The third method is silverfish fishing. A lot of people just ignore the silverfish. In these commercials nowadays, there's lots of quality skimmers, roach, big perch, and it's something that you might have to do mid-match if things don't quite work out. The fourth and final tactic is margin fishing, and me and Andy are going to show you 2 slightly different ways of approaching the margin, which could be the difference between finishing nowhere and winning the match. Firstly, feeder fishing. Before I go into the tackle and where I'm actually going to be fishing the feeder, it's really important, the bait. And what I've got some 2mm sticky pellets. This is what I'm actually going to be putting in the feeder, but the most important thing is to get these right to go into the feeder. So what I'm going to do, split the bag. I've got actually a pellet wetter there. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. So you put as many pellets as you want into the bag. I'm going to fill it sort of halfway. Don't just get wasting all your bait. Like that. Zip it round. So that's your dry pellets in the bag. I've got a bowl there, just over half filled with water, and all I'm going to do is dip that in, as easy as that. If you get a few float, you can just wash it around, just like that. I'm not going to leave them long, probably sort of for something like 10 seconds, and then bring them out. And you can just shake the water off. You can leave them on your side tray or on your platform or by the side of your platform for 10 minutes. And they're absolutely perfect to go on your feeder. Whilst I've got the pellets soaking there, I'm just going to go through the gear I've set up for the feeder. Rod first, I've got a 10'6" Mini Plus. Fantastic rod for F1s and carp. It's got a bit of backbone so it helps you cast really, really accurately. I've got a 4000 PXR reel. I think 4000 is about right. I'm not fishing a big long distance. There's plenty of line on. I've got 8-pound Power Max main line. Really important, really strong. You know, when you're casting a feeder out all day, you want something really strong, so 8-pound is perfect. Coming down to the business end, on there at the moment, I've got a small Dura Banjo feeder. I can always change this. If things go hard or the fish are starting to feed, I can put a smaller one or I can put a larger one on. On the business end there, I've got 4-inch hook length of 017 reflow power down to a 16 PR36 with a small Dura band. So what I'm going to do is take the hook length off and show you guys how to clip up to an island. I've got a lovely little island in front of me and I want to clip up near the island. It's nice and warm and I feel like the carp could be in shallow water. Most important thing, take your hook length off. Because I'm fishing up against it, I don't want to get hitched up on any reeds or anything, so take the hook length off. I've not got any clip on my reel at the moment. And what I'm going to do is try and cast out, not right by the island, just away from the island. Just so I can get a bit of a rough distance, really. Like that. So that was probably like that for off the point of the island. And to be honest, it was quite a nice cast to be fair. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a clip on there. Just once round the line clip. And this is why you want to stay with 8-pound line. Because obviously the pressure on that clip, hitting that all the time, you really need some good heavy line. So I'm going to have another quick cast and see where I am. And I can always adjust it then on my clip. So I'm going to cast that again. I mean, I feel like, because there's a little tiny bay slightly to the left there. So I'm going to take the clip off and I'm going to put 1, 2 winds on my reel. Like that, and put the clip back on. Because I feel like, because obviously if there was anglers opposite, they'd be chucking chine as well. So you want to try and stay away from them. You don't want to all be chucking the feeder in the same spot. So I've put two winds on my reel. Just chuck it back out again. You are perfect. Little bay. I can chuck the feeder in there. It's not the easiest of chucks because I am chucking it. The island sort of comes in towards me a little bit. But to be honest, that looked really nice the way that went in. And I can just feel the bottom there. And that's lovely. You can feel the feeder going along the stones on the bottom. And to be honest, I'm just going to start there. That feels really good to me. Nice clean bottom. You know, I'm not going to try and chuck it right by line every chuck, but I know I can chuck it in the same area. So I've got everything clipped up. Like I said, 8-pound line, good line clip on your reel. I'm going to put the hook length back on and then start. Well, there you go. I had a quick few casts. I had a couple of times where the tips knocked and then stopped, where they've obviously come in, fed on the feeder. I've not left it there long. And that's really, really important. Don't leave it there long. If you start getting knocks and it stops, wind back in and reload your feeder again. Don't worry about the clip. You know, a lot of people say to me, oh, what happens if you hook a big carp, Des? I mean, to me, I'm fishing quite heavy. That feels like a good fish, actually, that. I'm fishing quite heavy, you know, 0.17, which is sort of 7-pound hook length. But the most important thing to me is getting that into that near tight to that island, or if you're fishing another venue where you've got to fish to a feature, that's the whole point about clipping up. I've got a 30-gram feeder on because I am fishing on a bit of a slope. So 30 grams, that's sort of my normal feeder, to be honest, 30 grams. So it holds it into place. So when I get to that stage now, I put the carp in my net. The first thing I do is put my clip on. So I can let go of the reel. It's not going to spin round and loads of lines are going to fall off the spool. Then get down well hooked, bottom lip. Oh, he's properly hooked, that one. There's the disgorger on him. So your hands are free to do what you want now. I've got the rod butt under me bum. Stick the carp in the net. Don't need to pick the carp up. Just use the landing net. And then get ready again. I caught that one on a white mini bandam. Just stick one of them back on. So bring the feeder back down. I got my quick change feeder bead. That actually fits into the Joro feeder like that. Absolutely lovely. I've got my 2 mils there, which I soaked here. I've just tipped the water out of the bowl and just got them sat in the bowl dry. I'm using me mould. Got my little mould there. I'm putting sort of half filling the mould with 2 mil sticky pellets. Putting me bait in. Smack in the middle. Putting a few more pellets over the top. Turn the mould round like you would with a normal feeder. And then push it into the mould. And this comes out absolutely beautiful. So push it in nice and tight. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. So get yourself lined up. Take your time. You know, if you're not the greatest of casters, take your time. That's why I use 8-pound line. You get the right rod. Get the feeder probably sort of 1.5 meters down from your tip. Like that. Get yourself lined up. Bring your feeder back. And then a nice little cast. Like that. And when that goes in, the first thing I do is drop my rod down. And you can see the 2 bits of line coming together where the line's sinking. And once that's met, just bring it up and put it on your rod rest. I'll just cast that again. Had a couple of little knocks again. Oh, it's a big fish this, I think. Oh. I'm about to take the back wind off of this one. Just had a couple of times where I've gone in, probably F1s, knock it at the feeder, left it there for like 20 seconds, wind back in. Next shot, I literally hit the bottom, I sunk the line and the rod's gone straight round. Feels like a nice fish. I think it might be a ghostie actually, just seen the flank of it come up. I mean, take your time, you don't have to, you know, we are fishing heavy gear, but you don't have to, it's just sort of controlled pressure. Coming down the edge. That's the nice thing about having a rod with a little bit of backbone. A lovely ghost carp, that. I'm trying to get under my platform. Lovely ghosty, that. Ooh. Well, there you go. What a beautiful ghost carp from Hillview. My method's certainly working here. Let's nip over to Andy and see how he's doing.
Right, we've seen Des fish a feeder at Hillview, fishing a banjo feeder. Feeder fishing is a massive part of, well, match fishing this last few years. It's exploded really all over the country. Doing something a little bit different today. Actually fishing a straight lead, or some people call it a bomb. And I'm basically just pinging 8mm pellets over the top. It's a massive part of my armoury in match fishing. Really effective way of fishing, effective way of drawing fish into your peg. Nice common there. Ooh. It's a really good way of building your peg during the day, and obviously you can, with the inline system, you can swap between a bomb and a feeder. Needed to score you there. So I've had this rod set up from the weekend. I was fishing a feeder the weekend, but the beauty of this is I can change it over and clip a bomb on in a matter of seconds really, and I'm fishing straight away. Right, onto the tackle today. I'm using a 10'6" mini rod. It's got a bit more backbone, which is ideal for big fish that are in here. There's plenty of fish up to 20 pound really, but a lot of, you know, 6 to 10 pound fish, so that's got plenty of backbone. Got 4,000 reel, typical for bomb and feeder fishing. Matched that up with 5 pound Powermax mainline. It's a little bit lighter than you probably expect. That means I can get away with a smaller bomb. This is just a 15 gram interchange bomb. That means I'm less likely to spook the fish. You know, if you're crashing in like an ounce bomb, it's going to spook the fish, especially on shallow lakes like we're on today. It's probably only 3-4 foot in the middle, so you don't want to be spooking them. Down to the hook length, I've got a 12-inch hook length here at Viaduct Fishery. The rule is you've got to have a minimum of 12 inches on your hook length hanging below your bomb. So I've got 12 inches there. I've got 0.17 reflow power to a size 16 PR36 with a bait band tied on a hair. Hair's quite long. I prefer a long hair when fishing a bomb, and it just makes sure the hook holds in the front of the mouth. Typically when you're fishing a waggler or a pole rig, I'd have a short hair close to the hook. But when you're fishing lots of line on the bottom, it's always better to have a long hair. Des at Hillview is using one of these banjo feeders. I've got the same setup. It's made my life so much easier. I don't have to carry different rods around with a feeder rod and a bomb rod. I can just have one rod and interchange them in seconds basically. So at the moment I'm fishing a 15 gram, nice and light. So I'm not spooking the fish, nice and little pop when it hits the water. It's not going to crash in with a bang when I cast it out. But I mean, if the wind got up like it's starting to today, or if I've got an island in front of me and you want to fish on a slope with a bigger lead so it doesn't roll back down, I can change the bomb in seconds. Just slide the tail rubber up, slide the bomb off, pick another match cube up, line through the groove, back on again, tail rubber, and it's ready to go. Easy as that, simple. It's another fish on the bomb. I've been feeding a line out in front of me of 8mm pellets, and I've also fed the end bank next to me, next to a pallet. I just chucked tight to that when that swim went quiet, and I had one straight away. So it's a good little tip to have a secondary line just on the go. Pinging pellets there all the time, bit of quiet water there, and I can drop onto it every now and again and hopefully get one straight away when I'm struggling a little bit. But it's fighting well. Typical viaduct mirror, give me a scrap. It's nearly ready. Oh. Decent sized fish. Oh. There we go, typical viaduct mirror. Let's get her back and get another one. Right, a really important factor about fishing this method is to keep the bait going in constantly. But obviously we swapped from a feeder to a straight lead, so there's no bait going in unless we feed it through the catapult. I'm basically just feeding 3 8mm pellets, just 8mm Fin Perfect. Fish on, simple as that. And I've got a line out in front of me in the open water, and also, like I said, a line over there towards that platform. Luckily it didn't go around the legs, but it's pulling a bit. If I can, I'll feed while I'm playing a fish, but obviously if you're not confident in doing it, I'd suggest not to, because you don't want to risk losing the fish. So just keep it going in all the time, 3 or 4 pellets. Make a really nice noise, 8mm pellets, and they really do draw the fish in. But it is important not to get carried away and feeding pouchfuls in. Obviously it's a silty venue, so ideally you just want to feed 2 or 3 pellets all the time, keep the fish competing, and hopefully they'll take your hook bait. This one's scrapping a bit. Just keep the pressure on, nice and easy, make every fish count. Starting to come towards me now. Oh, nice fish. So I've got the clutch set on the reel fairly loose. Obviously he's a big fish, and when they run they really do go. So it's important to set the clutch nicely. Obviously not too slack, just so a little bit comes off when it's under full pressure. Keeping the rod low at the moment. It just keeps the fish high in the water. When the fish is within netting range, then I'll raise the rod, and hopefully it'll be easier to net it first time. So I'm still running the rod low and parallel with the water. As it's coming towards me, I'm going to raise the rod and hopefully net it first time. Here we go. Oh. There we go, nice common. Lovely looking fish. That's why it's important to keep the bait going in and keep these guys competing for it. Let's get it back. Okay, this method's really working well at the moment, so I'm going to stick with it a bit, but I'll hand you over to Des. I think he's getting his pole out, he's going to do a bit of shallow fishing.
Right, just run through the rig that I'm fishing shallow long with. Just stick the hook in the end. I've got a power top there, roller puller bung, so if I do hook some big fish, I've got the added bonus of getting some more pressure on. I'm using an 11 hollow, so it's good for F1s, good for carp. I can catch some bream on it, no problem at all. Got my little Dacron connector, 017 reflow power main line. I've got one of our new inline dibbers. These are absolutely brilliant. If you struggle out long, shallow, and you get lots of tangles, use one of the new inline dibbers. no tangles at all. You can flick it over, you can miss bites, and they just recock straight away, no tangles. I've got 4 at the moment. I've just got 4 number 8 stocks just under the float because I am fishing really shallow, down to a 4-inch hook length of 0.15 reflow power and a size 16 PR36 with a small Duro band on. Why I'm fishing 4-inch hook lengths is because some of these venues, such as Hillview, there's lots of F1s and they do come really shallow, and I can move all this down and I can literally fish up to sort of 6 inches deep. And believe me, on some days you have to fish this deep to catch these F1s. They'll be swirling and they're really awkward to catch. So there you go, nice and simple rig for fishing shallow with pellets. Well, I've just up my first one shallow. Had a few roach bites, lost a skimmer, come off. This is the first decent fish. It might be a bream actually. But when on fish shallow, to start off with, you might have to go through that, get a few little fish, get your feed in right. It takes a little bit of time shallow fishing. You know, it is frustrating at times, but you just got to try and feel your way into it. I don't mind catching them. I've started off about 18 inches deep, but nice size skimmer. Probably about a pound and a half that I would have thought. 6mm hard pellet. Just the same as I'm feeding. I've started to feed 6mm because I'm trying to get away from the little fish. If they kept being a problem, then I'd have to step up to 8mm. But I'm just sticking with 6s at the moment. So nice and easy. Just a 6mm on a band. I said probably just over a foot deep. I can vary that. You've got to be really switched on, especially lakes like this one with a lot of F1s in it. You might have to catch up to sort of 6 inches deep, and sometimes you don't see any movement on the water, so just bear that in mind. I always start at about a foot to 18 inches deep. I'm just going to slap my rig over. There is quite a lot of little fish there at the moment. Just grab my 6mm. I'm only fishing 13 meters, trying to make it, you know, don't get going out at 16. If you're not particularly great, just try and get into this fishing, you know, fish to your capabilities. That's the most important thing. I'm just trying to feed like 10 for 6mm and drop my hook bait straight in it. And what you've got to go careful on these commercials nowadays is you don't keep feeding and feeding and feeding. Sometimes you just got to back away a little bit. So I've just fed that time. Sometimes it's funny because you won't get a bite and you sit there and it takes a little, you know, a while. There you go, that was a bite then. And just slap it over twice. If you keep feeding, sometimes it just stay down. You are, look at that. I just left that then. Another skimmer. And what I'm going to try and do now is drag that fish away from where I'm feeding. Just try and catapult in 10 pellets and then concentrate on the fish that you've just hooked. I think it's a skimmer, yeah, another skimmer. You know, good fish to catch. You know, commercials like Hillview, you can catch 50, 60 pound of them skimmers and then all of a sudden the carp and the F1s turn up. No need to change that pellet. Just gonna go back out. And the first thing I do is when I go back out, get to the end of my pole where I'm fishing and just slap over twice. Just like that. And then try and bring your pole back over top your float, but don't try and affect your float. So you can slap over like that, and as the second one goes, just lift your pole over top your float. So if you do get a bite, you've sort of got a better chance of hooking it. Like that. And then I'm going to grab my catapult, grab myself, there's a lot of little fish pecking at the pellet there. Grab myself sort of 10 pellets. And as them pellets hit the water, that's when you need to be lifting and dropping in your bait. There we go. Only a roach, but you can see the principle of it. So as them pellets are going through the air, I want to try and get ready to lift me rig out and drop my pellet in amongst the pellets you've just fed. Takes a bit of practice holding the pole, but I'll try and get the pole over top. I'll try and sit on a slight angle on my box and try and get the butt of the pole over my 2 legs. That helps massively. A couple of little fish, you're sort of trying to confuse them. You want them to stay in your peg as you're feeding them and just keep slapping it until they all come to sort of the noise of that pellet going in, and there's only one pellet there, which is yours. And if you get 2 or 3 fish having a go at it, you've got more chance of hooking one. So just fire, try and lift out as soon as you can. Oh, that was a better bite that time. That might have been a better size fish, that. Oh. Feed again, try and lift straight into that feed. It's gone a bit quiet then, it makes you think there's a big fish in me peg. And all I'm thinking about when I'm fishing shadow, the most important things to me are the depth and the feeding. I'm just going to slap that over twice. Oh, the bite then immediately. Amazing how shallow they take the pellet sometimes. And if you're fishing for lots of F1s, you can catch them so shallow, it's incredible. That's why I've got a 4-inch hook length on there, because some days you can come up and fish a 4-inch hook length and you float right on top. Just trying to sort of feel my way into it really, how much to feed. And what I find over the years is, especially with pellets, to catch carp, especially these wise carp, you can only feed like half a dozen pellets. I mean, it's worth trying sort of lashing it in sometimes if you're not catching. But when you think they're sort of cruising around, you might only have to feed sort of 4 to 6 pellets. That one was literally just flip me rig over, little tiny dink of the float. It might even be an F1 actually. So use your puller. And that's why I'm not fishing really heavy elastic, because this is a mixed fishery, you know. There's lots of roach, skimmers, F1s. If I started using like a 14 elastic, I'd just bring them to the top and probably, most of them would come off. So if you get a nice elastic like a 12 or 11, something like that, you can get everything in. I mean, that's a big F1, that. It's fighting like a carp. So the little fish at the moment, the little fish are sort of faded away, you know. There's a few bigger fish about. God, dear, fight. Nice F1. And that's what's so nice about Hillview, it's a mixed fishery. So you can catch, silvers, F1s, carp. Look at that. Lovely condition F1. Just come a little bit shallower as well. And that one, look, is just hooked just outside the cheek. You get a lot of F1s like that shadow, they sort of flash at the pellet. So I've come now a foot deep in total. And to be honest, when I'm fishing for F1s, you normally find 18 inches is about the deepest I go. It's normally between sort of 6 inches and a foot deep is best. So a little 6mm pellet. Just get back at her. Don't have I've got a line, a decent line between me float and me elastic. If you start fishing really, really short, you can get in some right tangles. If you sort of fish the width of your foot plate before you put an hook length on it, that's a real good little tip, to be honest. So I'm not firing in all the time, I'm not firing in constantly. Still trying to chuck a bit of bait in on that short line for later, or if I need to use it. Just flick the rig over twice. Oh, little bite then. Even some of them tiny little bites like that can be them F1s. got to flick your rig over just to make that plop like a pellet going in. Oh, that was a lovely bite then. And they're on it, you know, if you feed too much, they'll just sit there, take all the freebies. Oh, look at that. Some of them will be F1 bites. And you don't have to strike their heads off. You know, with air rigging, for me personally, they normally just hook themselves. If you're going to hook one, if you can, you know, there we go. That was a little, I felt that then. That was either a carp or an F1. You've seen the pole tip go over. And I could have struck as hard or as fast as I wanted. I still wouldn't have hooked it. So, flick it over. Try and make that splash of some freebies going in. Like that. You're back in my pot now. Pick out half a dozen pellets. And what I want to try and do, as the pellets are going through the air, flick it over. That's what's so nice about them inline dibbers as well. You can't tangle them. You can flick it around, you can miss a bite, and it just sort of resets itself. You're not messing around. I've not got any shot down the line, I've just got all my stots underneath the float. A lot of bubbles coming up as well, which is good really when you're fishing shallow. You know, the fish are swimming out, swim through that. There you go, there's another one. Another small carp, I think. And these are crafty fish in Hillview, you know, when they're not really wanting to feed, it's very still today. You've got to change what you're feeding. So I've just started feeding a few 4mm as well. Because just little pellets sometimes can make a massive difference. But still with a 6mm hard pellet on the band, but just started loosening a few 4mm. I thought I'd just try it. You know, don't be afraid to try things. That's what commercial fishing's all about. I think that's a little mirror again. I mean, the reason for that is 4mm, you can, when they go in, they don't make as much noise. They go in like it's like loads of little bits of hemp going in, if you like, or casters. And I think there's, these fish nowadays, they take a bait in and they shoot off, you know, because they get caught a lot. And I think if you sort of feed a small bait some days, they'll hang around in the peg a lot longer. They won't take a big bait in and shoot off. So it's definitely worth trying. It's a nice carp to finish the shallow session off. Nice little mirror carp. And don't be afraid sometimes as well to try a 4mm pellet on the band. If you go to F1 venues, or you've even done it here in matches, you can't get a bite on a 6mm, you put a 4mm on and you catch loads more fish. So definitely worth trying.
Right, so here's my mugging rig. Again, I've got 13 hollow, nice and soft, but obviously strong enough for these big fish. Worth noting that it's not overly heavy. When you're using a long line, it can take a lot of strain on the pole if you've got heavy elastic with a long line, so it's worth going a bit softer with that. And then I've got 5 foot of line above the float. It might seem a lot of line, but with that I can swing beyond the pole tip and it's not going to spook the fish. Shallow is not going to be over the fish's head, and you can catch a lot more bigger fish doing that. Obviously, to swing that much line out, I've got quite a heavy float. It's a Tyson 2. It takes 5 number 8s. I've got that all below the float to give it a nice casting weight, all directly below the float. I actually fish with 18 inches just to give it a natural fall. You might not catch them 18 inches deep, but you'll catch them as the rig's dropping through. Then I've got 8-inch at length, low 15 riff low power, and a size 16 PR36 with a band on the hair. With that I can fish an 8mm pellet, or I can use a piece of meat, which is also a good tip for mugging fish. It sinks a bit slower, when they're moving a bit more slower around, that can be a real decent bait. Basically just pull the band through with a baiting needle and I can swap between the 2 baits then. So that's my rig, let's go and catch one. It's not the brightest of days and probably not ideal for mugging fish, but we'll give it a go. I'll put my glasses on, I can see a bit easier. I'm feeding a spot, but also I'm seeing a few fish mooch around on the edge of it. So I'm going to flip my rig in a couple times, make a bit of a plop, try and draw them towards it. Hopefully we get one straight away. No, keep feeding my spot and flicking the rig past. See if there's anything there. See a few fish around the back of it actually, so I'm going to swing out a bit further. No, try to the side. Make a nice plop when it hits the water, these 8mm pellets. I'm just pinging a few 8mm thin feed pellets. Make loads of noise when they hit the water. There's a few fish swirling there now. Keep laying the rig in. These fish aren't gonna take a static rig. They're gonna take it dropping through the water all the time. That's what they're looking for. Bait falling through the water. I'm trying to make my rig do the same. There's no point leaving it out there more than 10 seconds. The wind's getting up a bit now. Right, I'm going to keep flicking my rig past the feed. It's the beauty of using a longer line. You can fish right past your pole tip and not spook them. Keep the feed going in, 2-3 pellets. Keep laying the rig back in. The wind's a little bit awkward, so I've got to use a bit of a pendulum motion. There's one. I'll keep the feed going. Hopefully there'll be one waiting for me when I land this. Nice and steady, pole tip low to the water, slowly back. Right, stop and feed now, keep the fish competing for it. There's a lot of fish out there at the moment now. Ooh. Nice and steady. Start using my roller puller now, nice and slowly back, pole tip low to the water. Hopefully it'll keep the fish high up in the water. When it's within range again, I can just scoop it hopefully. Another big fish I think. Can be a bit awkward when you're using a long line to play fish, but as long as you're careful and you've got plenty of elastic out your pole, it shouldn't be a problem really. There we go, it's coming close. I'm going to raise the tip in a minute. Hopefully scoop him up. That's a right lump. Oh. I think that's a double. Lovely wide up mirror. So there you have my mugging and shallow fishing techniques. Hopefully if you get it right, you can get into some lumps like this. Let's get it back. Right, let's get back to Hillview and see how Des is getting on.
third essential tip I'm going to show you today is what I do a lot in my match fishing, is fishing for silvers short. It works an absolute treat. You can catch, you know, when the days like today where it's really hot and flat and and fishing's very difficult, it can put a lot of fish in your net. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a little bit of a mix up with casters and worms. Not a lot of worm, but I want to look to fish worm on the hook because it's very, very tough. You can catch up to sort of maybe 10 fish on the same bit of worm. It makes it really, really quick. So I've got some casters here. I'm going to get 2 pots of casters like that. Just put that in a separate container. So this is going to be my loose feed. I've got some worm. Nice thing about this as well, you're not going to use lots and lots of worms because they obviously are expensive. So I'm going to get some worms out of my pot. Sort of something like half a pot of worms. Just get them out. Not worried of that little bit of soil mixed in. Like that. So it gives the fish a bit of a taste of what you're putting on the hook. Sometimes I've been fishing, and if you don't put any worms in, you struggle to catch. So it's worth just putting a few worms in your mix. So just a few more worms. Get them in like that. And just chop them round. Good pair of scissors. I'm not going to chop them up so they're absolute mush. Just a nice mix. So I've got the odd piece in there, sort of an inch long, but most of them are sort of half an inch. So I'm going to stick them in my casters. Not a lot, but that's all you need to do this sort of fishing. Just mix them round. And what I'll do, I'll keep them casters and worms separate. And if I want to do some more, I'll just do this again. Just keep it damp. And as you can see from that mix there, you've got the odd little piece of worm. Lots of casters, but the odd piece of worm. So if there's any fish there, as that's dropping through, they're nicking the odd bit of worm, and your bit of your hook bait, a little bit of worm is there, you've got a much better chance of catching the fish. The rig I got made up for me silverfish fishing is this one here. That's on a short stop. It's only 1.85 meters long. I think they're absolutely perfect. When you want to catch a lot of silvers, like I am today, I'm fishing short, I'm throwing bait out my hand, you can't beat these things. I want to be fast and efficient of putting lots of fish in my net. I've got that set up on 7 hollow. I've got my little Dacron connector there. I've got 015 reflow power. Even though I'm fishing for silvers, I'm still fishing quite heavy mainline. It's about wear and tear. If I'm netting fish all the time, I don't want anything going wrong. So 015. I've got a 4B12 F1 maggot, brand new this year. Lovely little hollow bristle, which will hold the bait up if I'm fishing shallow. And at the moment, I've set the float to about 2 foot deep. Obviously, I can vary that. I've just got a simple bulk of 3 number 9 stops, a 4-inch hook length, which I think is important, the same as what I said about the shallow fishing. If I want to come out really shallow, I can do. And I've got a 14 434, a great big hook, and that's what worm on the hook is so good. The fish don't really take any notice of the hook size. If you were fishing with like a single maggot on a 14, it would look out of place. But with a piece of worm, they'll still have it, no problem at all. I'm just going to run through. I'm fishing shallow. I'm only putting 2 sections on my short stop, so it's not very far out. The most important thing is about fishing like this is where you can throw it. You can throw it really accurate. It's really easy to throw with your left hand. And I'm catching some really big silverfish. So as I hook one then, I'll bring it back. I've got my roller really close, quite high, so I can keep everything tight. And I've got a tulip on there. Loads of people ask me, why have I used a tulip? That's why, because it's so quick. I can drop that in there. Got my net, get the fish out. I've gone a little bit deeper. I'm probably fishing just over 2 foot deep. If I come really shallow, I'm catching lots of rudd and roach. If I go a little bit deeper, sit there for a little bit, I'm catching skimmers. I've also had a couple of F1s, and that's what I mean about that. Get your setup right, makes a massive difference. So I can get me tulip straight out, like that, flip me rig over, I'll get me straight into the feed pot, feed over top me float, twice, like that. Got a little fish on this time, on the roller. Don't have to, I can swing this one, little skimmer. And if you get your line right between your, you don't want it too, I mean that's probably sort of just over 2 foot from the float to the elastic. If you have it really short, you'll end up getting a right mess, loads of tangles, and also you won't be able to swing the fish properly. That's why them short stops are so good. When you want to swing fish, sort of these 3-4 ounce fish, absolutely deadly. If I had a normal length top, I'd be reaching up, the fish would be out of control. And like I said at the start, it's all about being efficient, in control. Just a piece of worm, inch long, big hook, like that. Flick the rig over, feed. And you can catch some massive weights of not just silvers, you can catch carp, you can catch F1s, all sorts of fish doing this. But for my fishing, when I'm in certain venues, this can catch me a sort of 20 to 40, 50 pound of silvers during the middle match when things go quiet. So you've got to keep feeding. And like I said, when I fish shallow, I'm always thinking about when I'm going to change my depth. You know, do I go shallower? Do I go deeper? But there's one thing for certain at the moment, I can just sit there. Oh, that was a proper bite then. I can just sit there and wait, and the bigger fish seem to be a bit, there we go. Them bigger skimmers are just slightly deeper. They won't come right up, and you'll find that a lot with skimmers, shallow. And these are weight builders. You know, you start getting one of these every chuck. And like everything's in control. I've got my short stop there. I can get the right elastic. Everything's so easy. Sing that in. Still the same piece of worm. All these little things make a massive difference. So straight into my pot again. Feed again. You don't have to plough bait in. Just steady. I'm just going to sit there for a few seconds. Them skimmers are weird fish. Sometimes they're just, oh, there's a little fish that time, little perch. You don't even have to, when you get it right, you can just do that. You don't even have to break down. Just get the same piece of worm again. If I was using casters on the hook, I'd probably get an absolutely rag to death. And as we build the peg up, these little fish will probably go away, and then you just catch quality. Just sit there for a bit. You can always tap, if you're allowed to tap on your venue, you can always give it a bit of a tap on the top. Try and hold your pole over top your float like I did shallow long with them pellets. Nothing that time, feed. Drop your rig straight in, down. There we go, look at that. You wouldn't think they were there. Even them skimmers are, not stupid. They come to the noise. Nice £1.25 skimmer. It's so quick when you get it right. There you go. What a beautiful fish to finish off the shallow fishing for silvers.
Right, you've seen Des fish shallow with worms and casters. I'm going to do something a bit different today. I'm going to fish pellets on the deck. There's a lot of small fish in the viaduct, so by fishing pellets on the deck, I'm hoping to catch these bigger fish, big bream, tench, lots of fish, and I'm going to fish for those while it's a bit harder, maybe in the middle of the match when the carp aren't feeding, to top my weight up. So as feed, I want to feed a combination of pellets and ground bait. If I was to feed 2 meals on their own, I'd probably get lots of small fish in the peg, and they'd probably eat a lot of it on the way down if I was, say, cad potting a few in. To prepare them, I'm going to soak these first of all, put a few in a tub, and I'm going to soak those for about 30 seconds, then put them on a riddle and drain them off. By the time I start fishing, they should fluff up nice and big, and they should bind really well, and I can squeeze them in the ball when they're with the ground bait. So I'll leave those to stand for a few more seconds. So I'm using Super Crush Expander. It's an awesome ground bait for skimmers. I seem to really love it. Nice and fluffy mix. I can over wet this and use it as a bait to hold those micros, bomb it to the bottom. Hopefully it break down quickly, and hopefully I'll catch some bigger fish on the deck. So I'm only going to use a little bit today, so I'm going to mix up about a pint. That means it leaves my ground bait limit, which here is 2 kilo. I can save that for my margin mix for down the edge for later when I'm catching lumps. So I'm going to add quite a lot of water to this mix. It takes on a hell of a lot of water. I'm going to really over wet it and make it a bit of a mess really. It won't look like your traditional ground baits. I'm going to over wet it, plenty of water. It's going to turn into a bit of a cake. I'm just going to leave that for 20 minutes. When I do come to riddle it, it should be nice and fluffy, taking on lots of water. It should be able to hold the micros that I've just prepared into little balls quite nicely. So these micros are ready to drain off. Again, I'm going to leave that alone with the ground bait. And now I need some hooker pellets for the hook. So I'm going to prepare some expanders. Got some 4mm super expanders for the hook today. I'm going to prepare them with the super pellet pump. What I'm going to do, pop the lid off. Takes about a handful of pellets, but as a guide you've got the max pellets there and also the max water when we come to fill it. Just pop this back on. Right, I'm going to draw some water up to where it says the max water, just there. Pop the lid back on. 3 times should be enough, pump it. And I'll take the lid back off just to prove it. There we go, everyone's a sinker. Right, so I'm going to finish off my feed bait. I've left my micros to soak, they should be alright by now. Nice and big and fluffy, so put those to one side. And I need to riddle my ground bait. So I'm going to pop it on the riddle. Nice cakey mix, like I said. And I pretty much grate it through the riddle. So I'll just do that really quickly. Get it all through, all these lumps out. Should end up with a nice fine mix, really wetted. It should go straight down in a ball and break up nice and quickly. That's lovely and fluffy there. So basically what I'm going to feed is probably 50-50 pellets and ground bait. So I'm going to pop a couple of handfuls of pellet in a bowl, and same with ground bait. Mix them together. Just end up with a nice mix I can squeeze into a ball, pop that in a cad pot, and that should be a really nice feed. So I've got my feed, I've got my expanded pellets, let's go catch some fish. I'm fishing 11 hollow, nice and soft, but it's all balanced. I've got 011 reef low power, so it's light enough to catch silvers, but obviously heavy enough to land these bonus carp. Just take it steady, nice and slowly, make every fish count. Get it back on the top kit and I can start using a roller puller. Nice and steady. Low to the water. Hopefully that'll keep the fish up high in the water. When it does come within netting range, I should be able to scoop it hopefully, if it plays nicely. Yeah. There we go. Keeping the tip nice and low. Hopefully it'll pop up on the surface in front of me. Ooh. Nearly. There we go. Another nice wide up mirror on the silverfish rig, but it's a bonus. Lovely fish. Let's get it back. going to keep the bait going in. Every drop in, I'm going to feed another ball of that pellet and ground bait mix. Lower the rig over the top, nice and slowly. Quite often you get fish on the drop. Fishing about an inch over. There's a bit of tow today, so with that I'm making sure that I am on the bottom. I don't like to fish too much line on the deck when I'm fishing with pellets. Normally about an inch is probably about right. You need that sort of sensitivity, and you don't want too much line on the deck or you miss bites. So I'm fishing about 8 metres today. It's a bit of an in-between length, if you like. Normally I'd probably fish 5-6 metres for carp on meat or pellets. Oh, that feels like a bream, I think. Definitely a better fish. It's not a carp. Nice and steady. 11 olives, nice and soft, but it's not too strong. Gently back. Oh, nice dark bream. There we go. It's about £3 that fish. Exactly what we're looking for in this method. Nice, better quality fish. These, tench, that's what we want. So I'll run you through the rig. I've got 11 hollow through a power kit, nice and strong. Like I said, strong enough for carp, yet still soft enough to land silvers nicely without pulling out with them. For main line, I've got 0.15, nice and durable, might be hooking carp. I've got a 0.4 into the carbon float, round bodied so I can hold it in this breeze, nice and steady. Then down, I've just got a bulk, simple bulk, about 15 inches from the hook, and then 2 number 9 droppers, nice and positive, and soft pellet fishing. I can get it down through the small fish, and those big droppers are going to show up bites nicely. And I've got 6 inches of 0.11, Riff low power, and a PR 434 size 16 hook, and that's big enough for, you know, a 4mm expander. Should be just about right. One thing I do like to do with my rigs when I'm fishing on the deck is fish a back shot. I normally fish probably 2 number 8s, about 4 inches from the tip, and that keeps my rig nice and steady. I can hold it parallel with the water against the wind. It'll keep my rig still. It's really important for good presentation, especially when it's a bit breezy like today. Right, so let's get fishing. How I like to hook my expanders, I like to do it through the side, around the round part, and then twist it round. That way it's against the grain, it's going to stay on a lot better that way. One tip, if you do struggle with elastic sticking sometimes, spray on a little bit of this Duraslip elastic. Should make it slip nice and cleanly. And I'm just going to ship out, like I said, a little ball of bait into the cab pot, and away we go. Just going to tap the bait out, drop the rig over the top nice and slowly, rig's all straight, in there nicely. Hopefully we'll get a bite straight away. Right, I'm going to stay on this line for a bit longer, hopefully catch some more bream, tench, at least until I see some signs down the edge. I think Des might be ready to try his, so let's see how he's getting on.
Well, the last essential tip today is margin fishing. And as soon as I plumbed my margin up today, I felt as if I needed to be really careful in what I fed. On some venues, you're not allowed to use ground bait anyway, so you have to use particle baits. But for me personally, when I plumbed up, I've probably got 3.5 feet to the next platform. I've got a lot of margin cover here. I can't even see the platform to my left, but I wanted to fish in front of the platform because it's going to be very clean, and I do catch a lot of carp fishing up to the next platform. But like I said, it's very, very deep. And for me, when I'm fishing in deep margin, especially in the summertime, choosing the right baits are very, very crucial. So for me, as soon as I plumbed up and found 3.5 foot, it's probably over 3.5 foot, corn was always going to be one of the best baits. It's very heavy. I can either throw it and cup it, but for me, it's the heaviness that matters. If I was going to put ground bait in down, I would always have some ground bait mixed up, because you never know if it was really hard, and ground bait, as we all know, can get fish in the peg. But for me, it was all about trying to keep the bait to the bottom, keeping the fish down, because it's on a warm day like today, they'll come into the margins, and if there was a lot of ground bait there, they can waft it off the bottom, and you'll end up having a nightmare foul looking, especially with big carp. So that was my sort of feeling today, was I'm going to stick with corn at the start and maybe introduce some meat while I'm fishing it. I'm fishing with 8mm meat on the hook. It's a nice big target bait. So that's why I've gone down that road rather than putting ground bait in. All right, just put that one in the net and I'll just show you my margin rig that I've been fishing. Everything's slightly beefier on this rig for obvious reasons. So fishing down the edge, fishing for a big weight of carp, and they can be some of the biggest fish in the lake. I've got a power top, I've got 12 Duro hollow. I've got actually a large cab pot on here because I want to be, fishing down in the margins. I'm fishing in deep water. I might have to fill this little pot up every single time, full of corn or whichever bait I decide to fish with. So coming down to the business end, I've got one of our new margin floats. On these floats, the line actually goes through the eye, but it also goes through the body of the float. So it's mega, mega strong. You're not going to rip the eye out. Really nice and simple. On the bottom end, I've just got some number 8 stots. I've actually spaced these out in the last sort of 2 foot, because when you're fishing in deep margins, sometimes, like I said, you've got to keep lifting the rig out and dropping it in, especially if they're really hard to catch and you think they're in your peg. And sometimes you can catch the great big ones just at settle. So at the moment, I just got that equally spaced out. Hook length, I've got 0.15 reflow power, 6 inches of that, down to a 14 PR 456. Mega, mega strong. You're not going to bend it out, and it's also got a real big spade on, so they're really easy to tie with heavy line. So there you go, that's my margin rig. Some days, like today, I think you've got to feed an amount of bait to try and keep the fish coming. So I'm going to get my big pot. I'm going to put a big handful of corn in. Some days you've got to keep doing this. You can catch 1, maybe 2 carp, and you've got to dose some more bait in. Well, I'm not going to overdo it, just a big handful of corn. Feed it just slightly away from where I'm fishing. And I'm going to go straight back in on it. I'm going to go straight in on an 8mm piece of meat again. Even though I'm feeding corn, just try and meat on the hook. I caught that one on meat after sitting there for a couple of minutes on corn. Big chunk of meat. God, look at that for a bite. Absolutely flew under 1,000 miles an hour, that. I said that's literally a minute after I've put that big handful of corn in. So that was a good, you've got to bear that in mind when you're fishing in margins. To get the fish feeding some days, you have to feed a lot of bait, but the right bait, that's the most important thing. For me today with the deep margin, I felt corn was the way forward. But with a big, a big hook bait, big 8mm meat on the hook, once they find that, they absolutely nail it. Not the biggest fish in the world, but you can get one of these every chuck. That last hour of a match, you can catch a huge weight. I'll just get the hook out of him. Well, there you go. Lovely margin fish at Hillview. I know there is some real big fish in here. I'm sure if I carried on, I would catch some big ones. But Andy's over at Viaduct, and I know there's some absolute whopping great fish in Viaduct. So let's get over to him and see how he's getting on.
getting later on in the day now. Some bigger fish down the edge. I've seen some swirls. I'm going to plumb up and tell you what I'm looking for when I'm plumbing up down the edge. So I've got quite a shallow margin. It's probably only 2 foot, a metre out from the bank. What I'm looking for is a nice flat spot that I can feed over. I prefer fishing on a flat spot because your bait doesn't get spread out around the peg so much. If you were fishing on a slope, there's no really way of telling where your bait would end up, especially when there's fish in their tails and stuff. So I'm just looking for a nice little flat spot, say a foot wide, that I can feed over. I think there's one right there. So I'm going to line that up and fish there. This time of day it's an awesome place to be fishing. The fish know that come the end of the day anglers throw their bait in, so they're going to be on it every evening basically. There's a fish there now and I haven't even fed anything yet. So let's get some bait sorted and get started. So I've got a 50-50 mix ground bait of margin carp and a new maggot fish meal. Mix it really over wetted, it's got lots of big particles in that go straight down to the bottom, hopefully nail fish to the deck and save you foul hooking them. So today I'm going to feed dead maggots in with it. These aren't actually dead, I've just kept them in a bag for a couple of days and they lie dormant there. So when I need some, I'll just open the bag, take a few out and then tie it back up again, and they shouldn't come back to life like that. I'm going to add quite a few handfuls in with my ground bait mix. Make sure there's lots of particles. There's a lot of small fish in here, so I'm feeding a lot of maggots in with my ground bait. That should be enough. Seal the bag back up again so they don't come back to life. What I'm going to do is I'm going to feed probably 4 or 5 balls of this down there. I'm going to squeeze it in rather than cup it in loose, because it gets the bait straight down to the bottom and nails them to the deck. So there we go. Let's feed a few. Nice big pot. Let's get some bait in. So I'll pick my marker, nice and accurate. I'm going to feed it all down the same hole. One last ball. Loads of particles in there. Got a feeling it won't take long at all to get a few fish in the peg. There we go. I'll keep my eye on that now, see if I see any tail patterns come up. Right, I'll just show you the rig now. Step things up a bit. I've got a 15 hollow this time. Nice and strong. When it comes to the end of the match, you need to catch fish quickly, so that's going to be really strong. Hopefully catch fish that little bit quicker. Got an 019 main line, nice and durable. There's lots of little stick ups and weeds. If it rubs against that, that's going to hopefully be up for the job. And I've got a 4x14 island float, equally ideal for fishing down the edges. Nice 2mm visible tip. It's not going to sink with a big bait on and fish in your peg. It's going to stay there nicely. Oh, it's lively fish. And then basically I've just got a bulk, 4 number 8s above my 6-inch length. I've got 015 reflow power with a big size 14 PR456. Nice and strong. Could put a bunch of maggots on that, double worms, dendras, big bit of meat, anything like that. So let's see if we can catch one. There's a few fish down there at the moment. I've seen a few tails, so I'm just going to start on a bunch of maggots and go from there, see what happens. If I'm not getting any bites, I can always switch to a double worm, nice big focal bait. So I just started off 5 maggots on the hook. Let's see what happens. So I've got my marker there. I'm going to lower it straight over the top of the ground bait, really accurately. Just nice and slowly, and drop it in. Liner straight away. Oh, liner. Drop it back in. There's loads and loads of fish there, loads and tails. But I've squeezed that ground bait nice. Oh, there's one. Squeeze the ground bait nice and hard so it's gone down on the deck, nice and heavy. So that one's definitely in the mouth, judging by that bite. Just waiting for a positive pull under. Nice and steady. Let the elastic do the work. Another decent fish, I think. Keep an eye on the edge, see if there's fish still feeding down there. But I think I'll put another little pot in next time before I go in. Ooh. Nice big common. Yeah, I'll put a little pot in, go straight over the top of it, and I think I'll probably get one straight away, judging by the amount of fish down there. Oh. There he is. Definitely a bigger stamp down the edge than the fish we were catching. Wiser fish. That was a nice big common. See if we can get another. So I'm going to feed it again. Get my pot. Just a single hander like that, nice and wet, loads of particles in there. And I'm going to go straight over the top of it. Hopefully we'll get one straight away. Pick my marker, drop it in. I fed again after putting those balls in, because obviously I've had a few fish in my peg. When I've hooked that fish, they've spooked off, so that's just going to focus them again. Let's get baited up and see if we can get another. So I've gone for 5 maggots again, nice big bait. Let's see if we can get another. Nice and slowly, making sure I'm not hitting fish on the way down. Straight over the ground bait. Oh, one straight away. So by feeding that ball and going straight over the top of it, it's kept things nice and accurate. I know where my bait is because I've squeezed it hard. I've dropped my rig straight over the top, nice and accurately. It's going to do me around the platform. Woo. It's coming back now. Bit of a hairy moment, but it's a strong rig, so it should be alright. Using the new carp pole today, so see that's plenty strong enough for these edge fish. Prefer to use a more durable pole like this, just making sure you can trust and rely it. It's got plenty of strength in reserve. Oh, another run, let it go. Nice and steady. Slowly bring it back again. It's got to be a common the way it's charging around. No. Yeah, it is. Nearly wrong. Nice big common again. Oh. Lovely fish. Awesome. Right, I'm going to do the same again. Another little ball just to focus them and get them back down on the deck again. Keep the fish coming into the peg. Obviously going to focus them again. A lot of people struggle with fishing ground bait down the edge, foul looking fish, but by squeezing the bait and using a big heavy float, it just makes sure you're not going to foul hook them. keeping the pole low, tip low to the water. There's no point, you know, I see a lot of people playing fish with the pole up in the air, it's just going to end up in a broken pole. Just nice and low to the water, keep the fish parallel with the surface of the water, keeps them high up in the water so you can net them when they're within range really. So much easier with a roller puller, just in direct contact with it. When it wants to run, the elastic can just flow through and you can let it go again. Bring it back again towards me. Just about ready. There we go. Another viaduct lump. Ooh. Definitely bigger fish down the edge. Ooh, just in the top lip, a bit lively. Another quality fish. Let's get her back. So I've had a few on maggots. I'm going to change my bait now. There's a lot of fish in the peg, so I'm going to try worms. I'm going to put 2 of them on, just through the head of the worm. So I'm just going to slap it on the water a couple times. What that does, it stuns the worms. It stops them from wriggling. Sometimes when you put live worms on, they fold over the hook and they stop you from hooking the fish properly. But by doing that, see, they're basically dead. And that hook point's always showing, so let's give that a go. See how they like the double worm. Nice and slowly. Oh. There we go, straight away. He liked the spaghetti. Come straight towards me actually. Lovely fish. Bonus. Alright, let's have another drop in. A lot of people struggle fishing ground bait down the edge, foul hooking fish. But there's a few things you can do. Obviously I've got a bit of shallow water close to the bank. If I'm getting real problems with foul hooking fish, I can try plumbing up a new spot into the shallower water. And if I'm really pulling my hair out, I can start to feed heavy particles like Des has been doing. Although I've got obviously a shallower margin than Des, feeding those heavy particles is going to pin the fish down. Exactly the same principle as Des. Oh, spooked one. It's going to pin them to the deck and hopefully lead to more hooked fish in the mouth rather than foul hooking them. There's another one there. Obviously those heavy particles could be maybe corn, nice and heavy, possibly meat, hemp, obviously another good heavy bait. And it's just going to pin those fish to the deck. This one's going a bit. Pole's nice and strong though. Another big fish I think. Just keep the pressure on. Back to the top kit. Slowly bring it back with a roller puller. Nice and steady. Pole tip low. Feels like a bigger fish. Ooh. No need to rush these big fish. One of these fish is going to be worth 2 of someone else's fish, so make sure you get it in. Massive common. Now that is a massive fish. Oh. Oh. Just goes to show, if you get your margin tactics right time of day with the right baits, you can catch fish like these, and these are match winners. Awesome. Get it back.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed Match Fishing Essentials. Me and Andy have showed you 4 different ways of approaching a commercial venue. First of which for me was feeder fishing, basically putting pellets around a feeder and chucking to an island.
I've done things a little differently with a twist, fishing bomb and pellet, spraying 8mm pellets.
Yep. Secondly was fishing shallow on the pole. I have fished for F1s and smaller carp.
I've done things a bit differently with a bit longer line between the tip and the float for bigger fish, wary
Yep.
fish.
And for the silvers, my approach is fishing short, having a few worms mixed in with casters and catching a lot of fish quickly.
I've fished for bigger fish, pellets on the deck. Had to wait a bit longer for bites, but they've been quality fish.
And the fourth thing, and really important when you're a match angler, is the margin. For me, I've fished in deep water with particles.
I've had a bit more shallow water in the edge. I've fished ground bait, maggots, and I've caught some big ones.
Yeah, yeah, well I didn't. But there you go, I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you pick up some great tips, and I'm sure me and Andy will put more fish in your keep net
And help you win more matches.